What is going on, Halo fans? What is going on, ladies, gentlemen, grunts, jackals, brutes, whatever you identify as? I am making a video for you. This is Vintage Gaming here, and here's another Halo Infinite video. And this video, I want to start off by saying, is basically a response video to not only the Halo Infinite campaign trailer that we saw on July 23rd at the Xbox Series X event. This is also a response to a number of agendas and themes that I believe YouTube creators, news outlets like IGN, stuff of that nature. It's also a response to those videos, those stories that those outlets and creators have put out. And I don't think it's all been negative, but in essence, I think that the Halo community and the community following the new generation of consoles needs to just take a minute and relax. I do not think Halo Infinite is as bad as people say. I think some people think the sky is falling. I think that, you know, the old saying with news is if it bleeds, it leads. I feel like we are blowing the trailer and campaign demo absolutely out of proportion. So with that, I'm going to kind of divvy this up into categories here. There's 6 categories that I would like to kind of touch in this video, and I apologize in advance if this video is a little long-winded, but basically the 6 things are art versus graphics, overall design, Spartan abilities, the 343 working during COVID, and my prediction for the game. So let's start off with graphic art style versus graphics itself. Now, I've seen a ton of videos, I've seen a ton of memes that Halo Infinite had a terrible showing at the Xbox Series X event when it comes to graphics. I'm not going to say that these people were wrong, these creators were wrong, news outlets were wrong, but I do think it's been blown out of proportion. So first, let's talk about the problems that we've seen with the graphics in Halo Infinite. So if y'all recall, there was, most alarmingly, a lot of popping in and out when switching frames, switching perspectives. You could see this with light textures, light contrasts on buildings, the grass when Master Chief first left that Pelican. You could also see it on the clouds when as he's going up the elevator to the anti-air gun. And you know, those are kind of the alarming things that you don't want to see in a demo, especially Xbox Series X's first real premiere demo showcasing their flagship title game, Halo Infinite. While I do think these things are alarming, and definitely I certainly would have preferred not to see any of those issues, I really don't think those issues will be, I truly believe those issues will be ironed out on launch. Microsoft has very deep pockets, and so they have been funding 343. If any game has a chance at not having those issues, it's going to be Halo Infinite. They have deep pockets. They can throw money at these performance graphic issues. So as far as the popping goes, while it is alarming, I don't think it's going to be a major concern as far as when the title launches. What I am more concerned about is the actual lighting techniques that they demonstrated in the trailer. If you haven't already, Digital Foundry made a tremendous video about how lighting works in video games. He goes into quite a bit more detail than what I will go into, but he basically mentions that the lack of ray tracing really hurt this showing, and he also mentions that when ray tracing is added to the game, it will not look near as bad, and you will see a lot more texture on the guns, on the other opponents, like your brutes, your elites, your grunts. You'll see a lot more texture, you'll see a lot more high definition images that we'll expect from a new generation of consoles. Basically, if something wasn't in the direct light in the trailer, it was going to show poorly on the demo. So if you haven't already, I would check out Digital Foundry's video on that and why Halo Infinite might have shown poorly. Now obviously we've seen the memes, we've seen the screenshot that 343 put out as an official screenshot The two in particular that I am concerned with, or I am highlighting here in this video, is the one of Craig the Brute. That's been a pretty funny meme. I do think that is pretty funny. And how his face just doesn't show a lot of texture or detail. Another one is when you got kind of the side view of the Banished with the brutes, the grunts. I think there's some jackals in there. And basically it just doesn't look like, because they're out of the light, it doesn't look like they have any sort of texture. And really, this screenshot, I really do believe, could have come out of an Xbox 360. Don't get me wrong. So I'm definitely more concerned about the lighting and the lack of ray tracing, but I do truly believe that these issues will be solved by launch. We still have at least, if the game were to drop on Black Friday, we have a little over 3.5 months for them to fix these performance issues, and I think that's definitely doable. I think they can definitely fix that. I'm sure I'm missing some other minor graphic inefficiencies, performance issues, but the two I really wanted to highlight was the popping and the lack of detail on a lot of the weapons, brutes, elites, wall textures, stuff like that. So I think ray tracing will fix it, and I think that they'll have the lighting issues kind of ironed out and the popping ironed out by launch. Now, a big proponent of this first point is there is a tremendous difference between art style and graphics. A game can have not the greatest graphics. I'll reference Halo 3. Halo 3 is 2 generations ago, pretty much, game-wise. It was an Xbox 360 title, but it still shows tremendously well, and that is because the art style is so strong in that game. The art style in Halo 3 looks good now. It'll probably look good 10 years from now. And that's where I think Halo Infinite will also repeat this. When you looked at the elites, when you looked at the grunts, when you looked at the warthog, nothing seems too busy in my opinion. The only thing I would say about the art style is it does look like Minecraft on the broken Halo ring on Zeta Halo. It does have a very Minecrafty landscape to it. But I do not think that the art style is something that is going to age poorly. And I think the simplistic, I think they drew a lot of inspiration from Halo CE. I think the simplistic, some call it plasticky, art style is a really strong art style for Halo Infinite and Halo's moving forward. We've seen in Halo 5 and Halo 4, the art style was really busy, a lot going on, and really distracting. And I really, really like the art style in Halo Infinite. And I think if we can tone up the graphics, we're going to have a very visually pleasing game. Overall design of the game is my next point. I think that we all have to understand, while this game did take 5 years in development, this is a massive undertaking for 343 to have an open world campaign style game, in addition to being held to a high standard of previous games when it comes to multiplayer. It's a lot for a studio to take on, that we have to cut them some slack when considering all those things. However, with that being said, I really liked the campaign demo. I liked the idea. I liked the, you're on this ring and you can explore all sorts of different places. You don't have to do anything in a linear fashion. I think that could lend itself really well to a game like Halo, because there's just simply not a ton of games that nail that concept great. There's a pretty large distinction between true role-playing games or true open-world games and a game that can kind of do both. And I think that this could really separate Halo from other shooters and hopefully, if the gameplay is good, retain them. Overall design, I like the Banished. I think they're a good enemy. They're very in your face, very evil. It's definitely a return to form for Halo. And I think that it's the open world concept, the multiplayer hopefully is going to be released here shortly, a demo. The open world, the enemy, the art style, I really like it. I like what I'm seeing from 343 Industries. Now I want to address something that I thought would be a major issue, but seems to be glossed over the fact of having the poor graphics. We still have Spartan abilities in Halo. I thought this would be a massive debate once we seen the footage on July 23rd at the Xbox Series X event. I thought for sure you would have your modern Halo fans coming to defend Sprint like they have in the past, and your classic Halo fans screaming at the top of their lungs that Sprint is still in the game. Now let me preface this argument by saying, I am not a fan of Spartan abilities in Halo Infinite. I think that classic Halo is the best Halo. However, just because we've seen Sprint, the grapple hook, thrust, slide, all that junk in the campaign does not mean that it will be in the multiplayer experience, and it also does not mean that those abilities are mandatory in any sort of Halo multiplayer custom game playlist. Like, for all we know, we could have a button to turn off Sprint, and there you go. Then you have both right there. We could have a button to turn off thrusters. We could have a button to turn off clamber. I think that just because we've seen it in the campaign does not necessarily mean it'll be in the multiplayer. And I hope I'm right on this. I could be way out in left field, and we're going to have a very Halo 5-esque game. But I just think it's too early to tell with the Spartan abilities. And for all we know, 343 could make a bigger step towards classic Halo by having these options editable in custom games or multiplayer. The next thing I want to talk about kind of ties into this whole video really. And nobody is living under a rock. We live in a global pandemic right now, and even though 343 has made statements that their design studio has not been delayed, they haven't had any issues, it's just a challenge they're working through, I simply don't believe that. I think that I've never developed a game, but I feel like it's definitely a process where you want people together so you can collaborate and work on the game. I think that COVID has certainly slowed down the production of Halo Infinite, and it's something we all have to realize. We may have to have patches day 1, day 5, just because they had to take such a break and a slower rate of production during COVID. Fourth, maybe fifth thing, I don't know at this point. I saw a lot of videos by a number of different creators talking about poor reviews they saw from previous employees working at 343. Now, I've worked at many jobs that I hated that were truly toxic, and they did not have almost 3.5 out of 5 stars on Glassdoor. They were 1 to 2 stars. So this leads me to believe, yes, anybody at any job is going to have a poor. You're gonna have people that have very poor experiences working anywhere. And who knows, maybe these employees weren't a culture fit. Maybe they weren't a fit to live in Washington. Maybe they weren't even proficient enough at their own job that pretty much got them kicked out of the company or forcibly removed. I feel like you can take a very small grain of salt from reviews on Glassdoor, especially when these same creators do not reference any positive reviews of working for 343. So, quite literally, you could have a review that says, oh, 343 is toxic, they ask too much out of their people, they use contractors too much, and on the flip side, there could be a review that says, oh no, 343 is not toxic, it's actually a really fun place to work, there's a good community in the studio, and I feel like my work-life balance is pretty good. So you can't take analytical, one-off reviews from a big company like that and make a blanket statement that, oh, 343 is toxic to work with. That's why the games are struggling. Because at the heart of the issue, games like Halo 5 play really, really well. They play very, very well. It's just how the game is inherently, such as Spartan abilities or map design, stuff like that, that make the game not as good as a game like Halo 3. But it plays really well. We could argue all day about the rec packs, which I am in favor of removing entirely. But as far as how the game plays and stuff like that, I mean, you really can't cherry pick reviews on a site like Glassdoor and make whole videos basically smearing the name of 343 Industries, especially when the company overall is rated pretty high. That's kind of my video, guys, on a lot of the content that has been made surrounding 343's campaign demo at the Xbox Series X event. I think, as I said earlier, I think a lot of this is being blown out of proportion, and I think that the whole Halo community needs to relax. Are there issues with popping? Yes. Are there issues with lighting? Yes. Not only has 343 had to make a new Halo game with a groundbreaking new presence as an open world, a campaign that's driven by an open world environment, they've also had to be held to the same standard of their multiplayer from previous Bungie games. So it's a tremendous undertaking in and of itself, and the studio, like every other studio in America, so I don't want to just act like, I don't want to be a 343 apologist, but they've had to drastically change how the community thinks of Halo as far as the campaign, have a good multiplayer, and design the game around a new console, in which the design of the new console probably hasn't been nailed down until 6-8 months ago. So, I'm just saying, guys, take a minute, relax, give 343 some slack. I could be totally wrong on this video, and I hope I'm not, but I just kind of reminding you all, take what I say for a grain of salt, believe half of what I say, half of what somebody else says. Do your own research. Don't just hop on some bandwagon just because it feels good, and it feels good to bash 343 and Halo Infinite. With that being said, I hope Halo Infinite is great. I hope all these issues are ironed out, and I hope we all get to enjoy a pleasant Halo Infinite for the next 5 to 6 years, however long they want Halo Infinite to last. Because I think we can all agree, Xbox Live, Xbox in general, is better when Halo is one of the top games. That's going to do it for me, guys. If you enjoy the channel, please like, comment, subscribe. I hate to give you the generic YouTube creator, support my channel speech, but I truly hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I apologize if this video is long-winded. I did this video in one take as a conversation style video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't, let me know and I'll never do it again. With that being said, this is Vintage Gaming, and I will catch you guys next time.